at Humdinger Bicycle Tours, which is mostly me, sometimes the odd other person and summer students. We've been around for 5 years. This is going into our 6th summer, which I can't believe. And we run tours mostly in central Ontario cottage country. I've got the little red circle there just around Aurelia. So Lake Couchiching, where Lake Couchiching and Lake Simcoe come together, that's where we are. And this is mostly where we run tours. We do sometimes come to Ottawa, not just to see Manny and Judy, but we have run a couple of tours in the Ottawa area, and we will do custom tours throughout the province. But this is our main region. So you can get to Aurelia in about 4.5 hours from Ottawa if you're leaving from the West End and you take the back route, or to Haliburton probably in about 2.5 to 3 hours. We're about 1.5 hours north of Toronto, and we're about 3 hours from Niagara region, 2.5 to 3. We offer a full range of touring options, so short 2-day weekend tours up to 6-day tours. We have offered fully guided tours and self-guided tours, and we can cater to any level of cyclist. And as I've mentioned before, we do custom tours, so we can set things up that work for you if what we have on offer isn't quite what you're looking for. I want to spend a bit of time today talking about the Simcoe County Loop Trail. I don't think I've gone into detail about it too much in the past years. It's becoming quite popular. The Loop Trail itself is 160 kilometers, and it loops Barrie, Midland, and Aurelia. Mostly gravel rail trail, about 80% gravel rail trail. There are some on-road sections when you go through the towns and cities. And there's one little section sort of out in the middle of nowhere that's an on-road section, just because it's a short section where the property owner hasn't given permission. But it is really largely nice crushed limestone rail trail. There is a paved bike trail section from Midland to Wabashine along Georgian Bay, which is delightful. So we run 3-day tours doing the trail over 3 days, but we also run a 5-day tour that we call Simcoe County Loop Trail Plus. And it's plus because you get a couple of extra loops. So this is the loop trail. We start down in the bottom left-hand corner, just north of Barrie, and go up to Midland on the first day on the orange, and then come to Aurelia on the yellow and red on the second day, and then back to Barrie on the third day. On the 5-day Simcoe County Loop Trail Plus, we have a loop, an extra loop up through Awenda Provincial Park, which is the green loop up to the top left of the map, and a loop along the Severn River past the Big Chute Marine Railway, which is the blue loop on the right. I always think this map sort of looks like some kind of comic book character, and the extra loops look like ears. So the right ear is the Big Chute loop along the Severn River, and the left ear is the Awenda Provincial Park loop. Getting to the Simcoe County Loop Trail is easy. You can drive to the Simcoe County Museum, which is Midhurst, just a few kilometers north of Barrie, and they offer free trail parking to cyclists because the Simcoe County Loop Trail is maintained by Simcoe County. The museum is the same government body, so they are trying to help encourage cycle tourism. They do want you to register, but you can park for free. Or if you're in the GTA and you want to take the GO train up, the very last stop on the GO train, I forget what they call the line, but the one that comes due north to Barrie, the very last stop is Allendale. And we have met people there to get them started on the loop trail straight from Barrie if you want to come with no car. Either way, you get lots of time on the nice trail, mostly crushed limestone, as I've mentioned, lots of lakefront. This particular section, you can just see a little bit of Lake Simcoe off to the side there. The first night, one of the places we sometimes stay in Midland, if we can get it, is a bed and breakfast called Dragonfly Dreams Inn. That's very cyclist friendly. She's got a locked garage for bikes. Everybody loves her breakfast, and she has been known to do lovely things for cyclists, like wash their clothes if they get stuck in a thunderstorm or something like that. So she's terrific, and it's a great place to stay. It's very close to downtown Midland, walking distance to restaurants and cafes and the waterfront. This is Awenda Provincial Park. So this is an option if you take the 5-day trip to loop up here into the provincial park and explore the shoreline a little bit. Coming out of Midland, there is the Martyrs Shrine and St. Marie among the Hurons and the Wye River. This is a bridge crossing the Wye River in that area. And the Martyrs Shrine. So lots of history in the area, lots of things to see. On the 5-day trip, we stop at Raleigh Resort on the 3rd night. So we do try to do 2 nights at that bed and breakfast in Midland, and then stop at Raleigh Resort, which is a resort in Port Severn where the Severn River comes out to Georgian Bay. Also a big favorite among the cyclists. They have a pool, they have a beautiful restaurant, and it's really great access to the Big Chute Loop cycling route. And there's the Big Chute, which is, if you don't know what the Big Chute is, it's a railway system on the Trent Severn that puts boats on these straps and lifts them out of the water and then up this cliff. It's quite amazing to see. It's I believe, the only operational marine railway in North America at the moment. There's some happy cyclists having a picnic lunch at the Big Chute Park. And that section up along the Severn River is starting to get into Canadian Shield. So you are just at the cusp of where the Great Lakes Basin farmland region transforms into Canadian Shield. So it's quite pretty up in that loop. Coming down into Orillia, we go through a little village called Coldwater, which is just one of those very sweet little villages. It has a river coming through it. It's got a great museum. It's got cafes. M's Cafe is another one of these very cyclist-friendly places. It's not often that you would stop there anytime, probably from middle of April till middle of October, where there aren't bikes parked outside. Great place for lunch and coffee. Right off the rail trail. And then you come into Orillia for the 2nd night if you're on the 3-day trip, and the 4th night if you're on the 5-day trip. So Orillia is on Lake Couchiching and Lake Simcoe, and also lots of great things to see. And the hotel we use is right downtown, right at the waterfront. So great place to spend your night after your day of cycling. And then back to Barrie and Midhurst, and that's it for the trip. These were some octogenarians who did the rail trail last year, which was very impressive. So Simcoe County Loop Trail 3 days, or Simcoe County Loop Trail Plus, which is 5 days. We do a tour called Georgian Bay Muskoka over 6 days and 5 nights. This one I'm not going to go through in quite so much detail, but we start with a shuttle from Collingwood Blue Mountain area up to Parry Sound and start in Parry Sound. We ride from Parry Sound into Port Carling on the first day, and stay at Sherwood Inn, which is a delightful, typical Muskoka inn on Lake Joseph. And we stay there for 2 nights. The second day we do a loop around Lake Rosso, which is a challenging ride, but quite spectacularly beautiful. And then we leave Muskoka, ride into Severn Township, and back out to that Raleigh resort that I talked about in the last trip, and finish up riding into Collingwood on the 5th day. And then the last day is riding in the Collingwood Thornbury area. So you leave your car in Blue Mountains and are reunited with it at the on the 5th day. So it's a nice point-to-point trip. I think it's nice. I like point-to-point trips. I think they're kind of fun. That's on Beausoleil Island. Sometimes people get a chance on the 4th day to go out to Beausoleil Island on that trip, which is fun. That's Bomb Beach, which is north of Wasaga Beach. So there's a really nice route that we take along Bomb Beach and the tiny beaches into Wasaga Beach and then into Collingwood. Judy was talking about Tobermory. We have a trip, a 6-day, 5-night trip in Bruce, mostly in Bruce County, a little bit in Grey County. We start in Port Elgin, which is on Lake Huron. We ride up into the Bruce Peninsula. We do not go up to Tobermory on our trip, as it is, they've changed the Highway 6. They've added a nice shoulder to Highway 6, but it's still very busy. We try to stick to the east side of the peninsula, and then down into Owen Sound and Meaford. It's quite a delightful trip over 6 days and 5 nights. Highly recommended. We ran it a couple of times last year and it was terrific. We have a very challenging trip because it's hilly, but amazing. You can do it road or gravel. Muskoka to Haliburton. I used to call this one the Hills of Huntsville and Haliburton, but then it was suggested to me that maybe the hills shouldn't be in the title, but there are hills. So this one goes from Huntsville, just outside of Huntsville, to Haliburton over 6 days, and really a beautiful trip as well. And we have developed it. We did a custom tour last year with 2 couples who wanted it to be mostly gravel. So we have those routes now. If anybody's interested in a pretty challenging and spectacularly beautiful gravel trip. And going from our most challenging to our easiest trip, Pedal Pints and Pubs Aurelia. This one is great if you want a weekend trip. It's 2 days, 1 night, partly guided and partly self-guided. So the first day we do a guided trip of Aurelia waterfront and historical sites. And we end up at the Couchiching Craft Brewery in Aurelia and have lunch and beer tasting included with the trip. You stay downtown at the Champlain Waterfront Hotel. And the second day you do a self-guided ride out to a brewery out in the country called Quails, which is it's become quite a destination. Both of those breweries opened right at the beginning of the pandemic and they've both done really well. Quails is actually a hops farm and it's on top of a hill with this spectacular vista. So you ride out there, either a shortish route or a longer route, your choice, have lunch and beer tasting, and then we pick you up and bring you back to Aurelia to your car. So that's just at the Leacock Museum in Aurelia, part of the tour. And the fish weirs, the Manjikaning fish weirs at the Narrows between Lake Simcoe and Lake Couchiching are very, very old fishing system, one of the oldest human-made structures in North America. They think they've carbon dated them to 3000 BCE. And that's Quill's brewery on top of the hill. And we can do custom tours. So if you want me to pull something together for you, that would be delightful. I love doing the custom tours. So let me know. That's it. Any questions?
Okay, I guess we have no questions. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Judy.
It was very nice to see you, and hopefully we'll all get to see you out on the road this summer.
Yes.
And then I guess that makes it Maya's turn, and I will pass things along to her.
I don't think we're hearing Maya.
On mute, right? Oh, hello, everybody. That should not happen.
That's
Welcome
better.
to all our cyclers. My name is Maya Miolanen. I'm the president of the Manitoulin Island Cycling Advocates, MICA. We're a not-for-profit, fully volunteer organization. We're going to showcase today a little bit about what you can expect if you visit Manitoulin, the largest freshwater island in the world. Discover the heart of the Great Lakes, surrounded by sparkling turquoise water, as you can see it here. And we got clean air and 108 inland lakes.
Hang on. Why?
I don't know, you might have to go out. There you go. Manitoulin can be reached two different ways. From the north, turning south on Highway 6, approaching it from Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, through Espanola. And you will enter Manitoulin on this over 100-year-old swing bridge. If you desire to come a day before, you can book yourself into the Manitoulin Conference Center or drive all the way down to South Bay Mouse and book yourself in there. And there's motels, hotels, camp spots, whatever you desire. And there's free parking on the South Bay Mouse side of where we start. The second option to reach Manitoulin is from the south side on the MS Chichimon as a passenger. You can park your car in Tobermory. There is a fee depending on what months you choose to come. And the ferry ride takes about 2 hours. You will need to make reservations if you want to bring your car over. And of course, booking is always in advance is advised when you have limited space, like on a ferry. You will also find yourself having to be there 60 minutes prior to departure. Otherwise, they will release your reservations. So that's something to be aware of. So here we are. Everybody arrived from the north and the south. And on a Monday morning, we start on the paved shoulders of Highway 6. There, Highway 6 is a fairly, it's a provincial highway, but it's really very low traffic density most of the times in compared to many other roads in Ontario. We recommend that you bring either a cross cycle or a road bike or a hybrid We also recommend to have maybe gator skins on it and bring an extra tube and an extra tire, because we are in rural Ontario, and it's just nice if something goes wrong when you have the parts right there, and the guide will be with you all day, every day, by car, assisting you with whatever you may need. Lunch stops are chosen most of the times when wherever we can on the water. And this little spot here on the first day is in Manitowoc. Has a rich Indigenous connection, because you're looking from this park bench over there straight into Wikwemicon, one of the only unceded reserves. And there is quite a bit of history that you will hear. The guide is always telling the story and answering all your questions that you may have. 10 Mile Point is one of the highlights of day one. If you can see the La Cloche in the background, on the right would be Georgian Bay's northern perimeters. On the left is what we call the North Channel, starting world famous sailing opportunities. And the La Cloche Mountains in the back. Manitoulin has rolling hills, not so much mountains, even though those mountains were tall when they were young and over the age were shaved down by glaciers, I guess, and things, but many, many, many moons ago. A wonderful 2-kilometer descent that you will experience here will lead right into one of North America's oldest settlements called Chiquinda. And you can see on the left here limestone. The whole island is limestone, so we're not on the Canadian Shield. We're geologically a lot younger than the rest of Canada. And because it's all limestone, there is a very specific ecosystem found on Manitoulin. Manitoulin has 2 breweries, one in Little Current, which you see here, Manitoulin Brewing, and in Gore Bay we have Split Rail. You may have tasted them before. Your first night stay will be in this wonderful Indigenous built hotel and conference center in Little Current, and you will have your dinner and your breakfast there as well. The second day, you'll be rolling out of Little Current along the North Channel. Manitoulin is now known as a wonderful cycle destination. We have safety infrastructure in the form of paved shoulders on 3 out of 4 provincial highways. The municipal roads are very low traffic and mostly hard-topped. And over our years, we've started lobbying for those paved shoulders in 2010 and have developed this cycle destination over those 11, 12 years now. And our vehicular traffic has learned to coexist with us in quite a good way. Many businesses are cycle friendly and are working along hand in hand with MICA. After climbing a little bit of hills the first day, you will have this wonderful descent. It's one of my favorite places to ride downhill and see this beautiful North Channel. It's just a great vista to go to. This is another lunch spot. Our menu is often ordered by local restaurants that we support. Sometimes, if there is none available close by, we have catered set menus that we bring along for you, and you have the option between regular or vegetarian or vegan fare. This you will indicate when you book with OK Cycle so that we can adequately prepare for you. Manitoulin is a big birders destination as well. We have many species that are year-round, like the bald eagle, but we have a whole bunch of migrating birds that choose Manitoulin. Because we have so many farm fields and swamps and cedar bushes and maple stands. So all kinds of birds choose us as a migrating portion of their journey to fulfill their nutritional needs. Most of our riders that visit us, we started in 2016 to offer all-inclusive cycle vacations, will have the chance to see sandhill cranes in the fields. And it's quite lovely when you can see their majestic size and hear their surprisingly loud calls. Sharing the road is done here with multiple road users. We are, because we have such a rural population, we do have trails, but often all kinds of road users are needing to use the road, no matter if you're a jogger or an Amish or a cyclist or a mom that pushes the buggy, and of course our cars. We have very little big truckers, because we're not as thoroughfare from point A to point B like you have in many of other Ontarian villages and destinations. I mentioned before, we do have rolling hills. Here again, you can see the North Channel. This was taken on one of our Manitoulin Passage rides, which is a 2-day fully supported ride. Right over that hill on the other side, you have a vista into the Cup and Saucer. It's our highest elevation on Manitoulin. It's part of the Niagara Escarpment that is 352 meters high. One of our rides in September, our short, offers a bike and hike that will go to the top of the Cup and Saucer. And that is the last tour in September. I think it falls 18th and 22nd this year. That's quite lovely there. It offers a great opportunity to see these beautiful cliffs and vistas into the far. Like I said, we have a tremendous amount of different species, over 32 orchids call Manitoulin their home. And in spring, some of the trilliums just create a full carpet in places. Lady Slippers, as you can see here, is the next in a parade of wildflowers that we have adorning our seasons. And these ones bloom when the passage ride is there. Shortly thereafter, the fields become a white carpet of daisies. And Manitoulin has more deer than people. There's about 13,000 people living on Manitoulin Island in small hamlets, and well above that in regards to deer. Our longest day of our journey is an unforgettably packed day. You will see our indigenous neighbors, see a medicine garden, have a look at a sweat lodge, and are able to visit the Ojibwe Cultural Foundation, as well as a small museum that hosts all kinds of pottery and leatherwork and quill work that our Ojibwe neighbors are showcasing within their reserve called Shigeng. Then you roll on to Kagawan, called one of Ontario's prettiest villages, with its famous Bridal Veil Falls. The smelts are running up here in spring, and the sweetwater salmon are using this little pond in fall to spawn. In the winter, the falls are spectacular. Every winter they look a little different, and you can walk behind them. And one of our famous photographer, Peter Baumgartner, lit them up on one year in 2021, and was able to capture this spectacular view of our falls in the wintertime. You will, on the same day, you will do a visit to one of the oldest settler farms. What's the name of that farm? Kookaburra Farm, but it used to be Newburn Farm, now called Kookaburra Alpaca Farms. And it's a lovely, cuddly way to finish your tour before you backtrack towards home. We will showcase, and you will see quite often, our alvars, hence for our name from our tours. Alvars are a fragile ecosystem that if you go over it with a car or anything, really, you pretty much crush the vegetation that may be on there. But there's whole places like Misery Bay that look like a paved parking lot. And it's a very interesting place where the ecosystem, again, is altogether different and very fragile. And you will learn the significance of the alvars along the way from our guide. The next day, after a visit to one of Ontario's famous galleries, located right here in Manitoulin, you will have a chance to have lunch at the Providence Bay, largest sand beach on Manitoulin, with its dunes and boardwalks and plenty of beautiful spaces to have your lunch. This is about as Manitoulin as it gets, just cedar bush, maple bush, and farms everywhere you look. And they come with their typical smells, full of lilac in spring when you go, fresh cut hay smells in later on. You will start to smell the roses and the wild thyme. And then, of course, not to forget the vibrant red colors in fall. Home baking and healthy snacks along the roads are offered every 30 kilometers or so along the way, where you have an option for coffee and tea and cold drinks, and getting to know your fellow riders to make memories out of everything you taste and touch and whom you laugh and have laughters with. Good food, as you can see, is served here by Guy, one of our guides. And here in the background, you see one of the cottages. These guests stay for the 3 nights afterwards. That's on the other side that you can't see, is right on the lake. So swimming is what people do here, and just reminiscing and maybe even have a bonfire in the evening. We also offer to stay in B&B if you choose to do so. There, your breakfast is made. In the cottages, we supply you with the ingredients of your choice, where you make your own breakfast, and at the B&B it's served. The B&B is not right at the water, but in walking distance. You will receive Manitoulin and La Cloche mountain routes and roadmap, as well as daily itineraries where to go that you can take a photo of and have it along so you don't get lost. The guide, however, will be with you all the time, one phone call away if you get a flat, or if you need your jacket that you left with him, or if you bought a souvenir that you want him to bring back to the cottages. He's there to serve you every day, all day long. Sweet water, water, everywhere you look, because of the westerly winds that Manitoulin has. We have barely any bugs. That doesn't mean we have no bugs, but we have way far less bugs than Northern Ontario in general. We also have the same amount of sunny days as California. That isn't a promise, but it's a fact. So that's a little bit about Manitoulin, I guess. All the further details in regards to pricing, and there's writings and videos available where you can see more is on manitoulincycling.com. I really wish to thank Manny and Judy to put this webinar on again. It really helps to spread the word about the beautiful places we have here, right here in Northern Ontario. No matter if you go to Humdinger or if you go to Wismica, you will have a great cycling experience. And please visit the website, please visit Northern Ontario and enjoy what we have right in our backyard. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, we're right here.
Thank you very much. That was very informative. Obviously, I need to go cycling. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if no one has any questions, Manny, do you want to say anything before we go?
So sure, I'd love to say just a few words, just to thank everyone for joining us on this webinar. And we're always there to answer any questions. I mean, it's important that people feel comfortable with whatever they decide to do, and we're there to sort of help initiate that by responding to emails or phone calls. And it's always a wonderful opportunity to chat with people and to hear about their experiences. I really loved all the pictures we saw today. I thought they were really, really very outstanding. If I could use that word, very much. Anyways, thank you again, everybody. And any questions anyone has, you know, we're always there to respond to them and to try to help people understand what they will be doing. So thank you again. I'll turn it back to Judy. Thank you, Judy.